If you're anything like me, you wake up and immediately go get a drink of water. After that, it's time for breakfast. Then you continue with your day, having lunch, and then if you're like me, I have dinner late at night. But I always try to be careful about what I eat, like many people do, whether how many calories are in this or how much protein is in that. I just try to eat healthy, but I can't help but feeling like I'm blind to something that's just right in front of me. As a college student, I'm continuously on the move and I need quick solutions to things so I can stay up on homework and classes and everything else that I do in my life, whether it's hobbies or sports or lifting or anything that the average person does. Um, but not only am I busy, I am cheap. I am cheap and I watch my spending on my food, whether it's not from the dining hall or anywhere else. And that means I got to take food from the dining hall, or I just buy prepackaged food quickly from like a grocery store or something. But like many of you, I pack my dining hall food into a plastic container, which then sits in the fridge to preserve the food. I also drink water from plastic bottles, like water bottles, because it's cheap and I can bring it anywhere. It's easy to fit it in a backpack or the side of the backpack. It goes anywhere. But on the occasion that I do buy food like steak or chicken or seafood or yogurt from a grocery store, it's almost always packaged with plastic. And according to the EPA, it's estimated that 14.5 million tons of plastic containers and packaging were generated in 2018. People should reduce their use of plastic for the Earth's use and for their own health. In this presentation, I'll tell you two main reasons why you should be wary of your plastic use and intake. Number one being plastic is terrible for you, and number two, it's also terrible for the environment. I'd like to begin with how plastic affects your health. Now, plastic is made from thousands of chemicals which pose threats to your health. Plastic is used for almost all consumption products, and it leaches into the food and the drink. Now, when the food's ingested, so is the plastic. In some products more than others. BPA is a chemical used in plastics for hardening plastics, lining food cans, and even medical equipment. Poison.org says BPA can leach from plastic container or food can liner into food and beverages. This seems to happen to a greater degree when the liquid is heated or the container is scratched and rough. Now, plastic is used abundantly and people just don't understand the terrible things that it can do to your body because it's just so widely used. The Geneva Environment Network states, to date, it has been estimated around 13,000 chemicals are used to make plastic. And out of those 13,000 chemicals, only 3,200 are verified to be chemicals of potential concern, while hazard data is missing for 6,000 chemicals, which can be potentially dangerous and or hazardous. These include endocrine disrupting chemicals, EDCs, which are linked to infertility, obesity, diabetes, prostate or breast cancer, thyroid problems, and increased risk of cardiovascular disease and stroke, among others. It really messes you up. It's terrible for your health. It's terrible for your body, and you just can't even imagine like the other things that they haven't even found out yet. The consumption of plastic even affects your cellular makeup, and it causes allergic reactions. Studies published in Earth.org explain that microplastics significantly damage the cells in the human body, leading to serious health effects, including cancers, lung disease, and birth defects. So, not only does your plastic use affect you, but it also affects the children that you might have in the future, which is a terrible thing. Like, it's not even their fault. Now, as we all know, it not only affects our health, but plastic's terrible for the environment. And I think plastic usage is worse, it's worse for the environment than people think. Now, apart from using plastic for consumption packaging, it is also used for many other things, as we know. And when it's not recycled, it's left everywhere on Earth but where it should be. Over 400 million tons of plastic are produced every year for the use of many things, and at least 14 million tons of plastic end up in the ocean every year. It even makes up 80% of all marine debris found from the surface waters to deep sediments, according to the IUCN. Now, that's really bad. And we all thought that plastic was being cleaned up from the oceans. As we know, it's still going into the ocean. But we've been picking up the efforts, but we're still not matching how much we're putting in. Plastic pollution also affects the creatures that live in there, obviously. Um, and for decades, scientists have been finding plastics in the marine life. Microplastics can be found in the tissue of the fish we eat, but also in the ones we don't, such as dolphins and turtles. Now, Futurity.org describes the findings of microplastic particles in the fats and lungs of 2/3 of marine mammals in a graduate student study on ocean plastics or ocean microplastics. And that was from Duke University. It's a very credible source. Now, I've spoken to you about the dangers of plastic, not only to you, but to the environment. And I want to talk to you about what you can do. Now, you can reduce or even cease your use of plastic, purchasing or just use of plastic materials around the house or in any other aspect of your life. I can't urge you enough to recycle as much as possible, even though there have been rumors and studies that plastic recycling isn't as efficient, and it's somewhat of a lie of what we've been told when we were in elementary and middle school. But it's also a good portion of it does get recycled, so it's always good to still recycle. And the third best option that I can give you is to just find an alternative, like use glass or use metal bottles for your water. Don't buy water bottles like me. Get the metal bottles, or you can use a glass bottle from home. I know they sell them at Walmart or Target. You can get them literally anywhere. So you can use a reusable bottle, and according to the BBC, it's less likely to cause pollution than plastic, or unlike plastics, which break down into microplastics, which leach into the water and the soil. And glass is non-toxic. So next time when you're shopping, steer away from plastic, and if you don't, make sure you recycle it. Now, in conclusion, I've explained how plastic affects you and the environment. I want you to reduce or cease your plastic use for your health and the Earth's, and I encourage you to recycle. And if not recycle, or do recycle, but also think of the alternative for your own health of using glass or a metal bottle. It's really going to help you in the long run, and think about it, like it not only affects you, but it affects your children as well. And as you find yourself shopping next time for food or whatever, make sure you stop and think about if your food or if your healthy food is actually as healthy as the food you're eating.